I don't know. Some of you caught the broadcast. I had to be Patriot on it yesterday. Patriot Communication Central, and so seems like we're streaming, right? Just checking. And so I got caught off guard on the time and wound up in a coffee shop sending emails and texts when I was supposed to be broadcasting. Go figure that. So I didn't do more of the trauma painting yesterday for you guys. Let's see if we're. There we go. There we go. Awesome. And again, if you're tuning in on Facebook or YouTube, I have a hard time catching your comments because my restream chat thing really doesn't. There we go. Yay. Okay, Raylene. We're going to do some fireside chat. That's exactly right. We're going to do a fireside chat. Love it. Hey, Carol Besk. I like that. Carol Besk. That's really cool. And cool. Anyway, I hope you guys can catch this and share this. Good morning, Rebecca. I feel like, we're in this weeding out process because the censorship has just really, really clamped down, hasn't it? Hey, Lady Grace. And so that's okay by me because we are really all about remnant, right? We are a remnant people and we are a remnant effective people. Recently I decided to go and I'm just going to chat for a minute while we wait for people to find this. KKPH 7607. 76067. Thank you for sharing. Please do share this out if you can. Those of you who have connected with me through Praying Medic know that he just deactivated his Twitter account this week, and he probably has some really strategic revelation from God about how to deal with the censorship that has been erupting. And so I just actually, do you know what? Between that and my own statements recently on social media saying, if I'm gonna post stuff against the grain, and if that bothers you, you might want to just unfriend me now, because I'm going to say things that no one else is saying. It's because I want to give you good news and hope. And if you can't handle the thought that maybe there's good news in the midst of all this, then I'm not the person you want to listen to. Hey, Praying Medic, got your message? 5 by 5. And actually, you know what? I had a really, really positive feeling today when I read the note that you were going deactivating briefly. And I'm very excited because his ears were burning, because I feel that this is a time for atypical warfare and strategy. This is a time, for the remnant to know and understand how we operate. And we need to be lithe, and we need to be adroit. We need to be able to manage situations quickly and not to catastrophize. No catastrophizing, right? That's a great word, catastrophize. Okay, and I love what you said about Trump. Why is Trump doing fill in the blank? Question mark. Answer. Optics. I have learned, hey, it's so good to see you. I have learned that it's really, really important to set your baseline at peace and what God told you last. And anything that interferes with that, you have to be really fierce with it and just cut it out. So that's right. God is famous for the opposite. So if Trump does something that ticks you off or upsets you, you're going to have to go back to your baseline, what God spoke to you about it, what God spoke to you about the awakening, what God spoke to you, and anything that you tend to interpret out of catastrophizing and, oh God, the sky is falling, and brace yourself and all that stuff, you've got to pretty much just disregard it. We have to be really good at disregarding. Remember what I taught you guys and talked about how one day the Lord said to me, Julie, don't let Satan reinterpret your circumstances for you. I was single, stupid, and living in LA. I never got asked out. And I just thought, I just bought into the rejection. I just bought into the abandonment and the lack of worth. And the Lord said to me, you think you can't get a date, but I think I've already picked somebody out for you and you're pretty much betrothed, so start acting like it. Okay? And so there are a couple things I want to share with you. First of all, we're going to be connecting in smaller groups, more intensely and personally. As many of us might get hundreds of thousands of views, and I've had some wonderful things like that, or lots of people. I've been on, I have a syndicated radio show on national public radio across the country, right? and just picked up the largest station in Chicago for my radio show. It's called The Sting. And, they're playing my shows, and well, so that and $5 will maybe buy me a good cup of coffee, because it's really about the people in the foxholes. It's really about the people you connect with personally. And we're going to be connecting in smaller, more pungent, effective, adroit groups, as well as God allowing larger messages to go out. And let's not underestimate that. Let's not let Satan reinterpret our circumstances for us, okay? And we need to really stay clear on that. And if you really care about, so this is my principle. When I stopped sending Christmas cards many, many moons ago, because I felt so pressured and I started questioning the system, I thought if I really cared about all these people, I'd call them, write them, have lunch with them, or drop them a note the other 365 days a year, 4 days a year. And so I'm not going to feel pressured to send everybody in my notebook, my day timer, a Christmas card. And so what I started to do was be really intentional about sending Thanksgiving cards. And that's when I would give if somebody was doing work for us in our home, that's when I would give them a present, a gift, a monetary blessing, something special. I would give it to them at Thanksgiving, because it took me more effort and more sincerity to go out of my way to connect with them at a different time of year when we weren't being pressured. And right now we're going to have to maybe turn the president off occasionally if he pushes your buttons. Stay with the last orders you have from headquarters, right? About what you're focusing on. Shut everybody else up. Disregard them. Turn the stuff off and connect with your pod, your tribe. If I'm meaningful to you, if this is meaningful to you, you're going to have to stop letting other people connect us. You're going to have to connect with me. You're going to have an effort. Let me tell you about the strategy that the Lord has been giving me, and how, I'm not going to go into it now, but I'm activated on a project because there's warfare in my region. So I'm patriot mama working behind the scenes, also in very practical ways right now. But we decided, you kept getting booted, and you keep coming back with your booty, right? Which is again, this is the thing. We really want to be somewhere. We're really going to keep calling people, showing up. We really want to connect. We're really going to find them. It's not just going to be the flotsam and jetsam of what comes across our feed anymore. We're going to be deeply connected. And I really believe if we look deep enough in the scriptures, we're going to find out that the people who were the most effective in the remnant and in the military subterfuge of the kingdom of God were the people who knew how to connect behind the scenes and do atypical warfare. And that's what we're doing. So one of the things I've been doing is really taking stock of my resources, of the people that I connect to over different things, and who's really cream of the crop. Who is cream of the crop in your life? Who is the cream of the crop patriot in your neighborhood? Who are the 25 people in your town you could count on? Find those people, vet those people, and create your own behind the scenes band of patriot raiders. That's what we need. Find the 3 to 5 people who understand prayer and intercession. Those are your pod. Find the people that you want at your table every week to sit across from, no matter what they tell you about whether it's safe or not. The people the privilege and the passivity opportunity of just, hey, came across my feed, my feed. Hey, I checked into her for a couple minutes and then I moved on to somebody else. No, we're into the season of in-depth personal relationships and investment. And I have been so much more blessed and encouraged than when I used to send out the email blasts, to the masses, and the scary this and act up on that and answer this and call this senator and do that. Honestly, I think this is a blessing. I think it's a blessing to have to re-engage on Parler. I got to learn a whole new thing all over again, and I've got to find out who carries value for the call that God has put in my life. Let's do that. Let's support each other. Let's not put the pressure on, I don't know that, Dave, you felt pressured, but, people look to you, if Dave puts it out. But, that's a lot of leverage and pressure. I think we're big enough to say, if I really cared about this person or that person, I'd reach out to them personally and I'd invest time in them. And maybe it's only for a season, right? That's how it works. So I'm actually now titrating down to my deeper value, and I believe you are too, that you're going to find those secret atypical warfare raiders in your life who know how to pray, who know how to act. And I'll maybe tell you a glory story afterwards, but behind the scenes, in a situation where our town's been personally targeted, purposely targeted, I am seeing the most beautiful and amazing things happen behind the scenes. And aren't those the stories we can't wait to share with each other? And the glory stories we're going to rejoice in. All right, guys, I want to give you some principles here. I want to tell you that purpose always precedes trauma. And I've really been thinking about this because 2020, and I put my phone down here. If you're interested in chatting and sharing, that's all good. But I got to focus here on this deal. Purpose precedes trauma. Probably spent about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes on this today. And I talked, look, go back. If you care, if this means something, and I explained how we got to this point. And I was explaining the way that there's been more prophecy over this year as the year of the mouth, the year of the breath, the year of the stadiums, the year of outbreak of the kingdom of God. And so that's the prophecy. That's the purpose for 2020, right? And so what came? The shutdown, the mask, the virus, to shut off what is purpose. And the more I think about this, we tend to just feel like there's this random thing in the world of just chaotic attack. I don't think the enemy is chaotic at all. I mean, he creates chaos in us, but I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I do think the Lord sends his team into confusion, but you have to really think about, if you really got slammed with serious abuse and trauma, it came as a result of your purpose. It came as a result. It was predicted by your purpose, in a sense, predicted what the enemy might do to you, okay? And so you need to understand that. We need to understand that. In every case that I see in Scripture, at least of called people, they had prophetic words over their life. In fact, what have we learned by some of our prophetic leaders, that the stronger the word over your life, the more you're going to need it. Because why? Because it's going to be opposed. So, there's some pretty awesome, amazing things. In fact, when I went at the beginning of the year to do my 2020 scopes for Fear-Free Living, I was reviewing a lot of people's prophecies for 2020, and I got bored because they were all so positive. I was like, everybody's like saying it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be this wonderful thing. And then I started to get upset. I was like, oh, there must be false prophets because nobody saw this thing coming. And I'm not. Some people did see this pandemic and whatever coming. But then I realized, wait a minute. The fact that they were all seeing what God's purpose was in the midst of it all, what he had put together, actually makes me think that which the enemy was going to try to oppose that, right? And so, look, I have to go, when I do stuff, I'm going to have to go back and redo it when you're not looking, okay? Because I'm not like a fine artist. And I have to think about, what does a continent look like, to be honest with you. I did some beautiful paintings, that involve continents, and they turned out really good. But I'll tell you right now, I painted and repainted and painted and worked it over. But I think you get where we're going with the sense of a universe of purpose that was set into place specifically for our planet. The universe is finely tuned. Physicists and scientists, they know this now. They can't quite figure out why, but it's very clear the universe is tuned, and without it being as finely tuned as it is, life on Earth would not be possible. So everything about your mother's body, your father's body, their hormones, their chemistry, their timing was designed, planned in advance, so that a little egg and a little sperm could come together and it would be like you, a whole universe of you, a whole purpose of you brought into the earth, right? And So there we are, right in the womb of God. This purpose, this world, the world that is you, the world that is your heart, and that is what you were designed to do. And so there it is. And it came out of even seeming chaos, this earth. And God said, I got a plan for this person. I got a plan for these people. I've got a plan for this nation. And I read to you that the guy, now I forgot his name, but see if you care and you're invested, you'll go back and watch my last scope when I told you his name in the 1600s when he planted the flag at Cape something in Jamestown. And he said, and he prophesied that the gospel would go forth from those shores of Jamestown across the continent and to the entire world. So there you go. Bam. First purpose. And you see, every time more purpose is poured into America, more extraordinary people, more extraordinary circumstances, you see Satan goes right in. He sowed in Freemasonry, didn't he? He sowed in the occult. He sowed in the Unitarian Universalist movement. He sowed in witchcraft and spiritism, just as major moves of God were happening. He's not stupid, but he's a little late to the party because he can't read God's mind, can he? All he can do is keep his eyes peeled. And you know what's crack up is for Satan to even try to launch anything, he's got to actually sit around and think about the character of God. That God up there, wow, he has this kind of character. He's really committed. So I bet he's going to do something like X. What can I do to stop it? How can I kill the baby? How can I keep Moses from coming? How can I keep Gideon from aligning? Let's terrify Gideon, make him hiding in a threshing floor. Beating out the grain in a wine press because he's too scared to come out in purpose. How can we destroy Gideon? How can we take David out? Let's give David some major abandonment and rejection issues in his family so that he's not even considered, How can we do that? How can we take Mary Magdalene and just fill her full of demons, and because she's got the heart of a worshiper. She's a passionate worshiper. I know. Let's cause Mary Magdalene. Let's sow some sexual abuse into Mary Magdalene. So she winds up being trafficked, human trafficking. And she gets abused sexually, and she gets thrown to and the men in her life just use her. So, but what did God see in Mary Magdalene? Heart of a worshiper. Now I know, hey, Martha really gets stuff done. Let's sow some issues into Martha's life so she feels like she's always has to perform and be perfect, right? Let's make her a little bit bitter about her sister Mary. But because that way, that wonderful gift and strength that's in, Martha, let's try to get her off track, right? Let's get Peter to piss a lot of people off and use his passion, to just go off and without wisdom. That's how it is, guys. Satan can discern purpose, and it's out of purpose that he launches attack. And he can see it in family lines, and he can see it in generations. And this is and so you need to understand yet again that everything that's happened here, that's happening now, the chaos it comes after God's sown purpose into people, right? And so that's the thing that we're keeping our eyes out for. And we're saying, I'm not going to let go of the inherent purpose of my planet to be full of the glory of the Lord, and my nation to bring forth the gospel, and my heart as a worshiper, my heart as a powerful man or woman. And right in the middle of that whole thing, the universe that is you, that brought you into play, right in the middle of that whole thing, I want you to get the courage of knowing. Now, this is going to be a little muddy because this is all fresh paint, okay? And again, when you guys aren't looking and staring at me, I'll figure out how to paint something that looks halfway decent. For right now, it's about chatting. It's about you seeing this and realizing again, and I may be a little repetitive, but I've got to work this stuff on the canvas. and come up with visuals. And to be honest with you, I have no idea what I'm going to paint really before I sit down. I get a couple of ideas. Um, but then I want you to, and I want you to think, because I want you to think of Mary Magdalene and her purpose of worship and passion. And I want you to think of Peter, who denied Christ. Why? Probably had a lot of rejection. He probably had a lot of wounding. He probably had a lot of character flaws because of traumas and abuses and failures of the people in his life that should have protected him, loved him. Why? A lot of bad teaching. And here, but in Peter, in Paul, I know. Let's take a guy who's going to change the world. Let's take a guy who's going to change the world, Paul, and just fill him with so much bitterness and a religious spirit, get him so demonized, that he'll just start going killing Christians. Paul had a purpose. Satan could see it. He's setting stuff up. And this is the thing that's happening with the United States. This is the thing that's happening where we are. And if you look at every example I've just given you, with the exception maybe of Judas, who probably had an awesome purpose and then ultimately had to fulfill the darkest one, didn't he? Because God's going to get stuff done. But you see that the people that I see in Scripture, they override the trauma, they override the damage that even they have done, and they pick up the mantles of purpose. And so I'm going to continue to flesh this out, and I'm going to say that's I think number one, because you have to move from a place of trust. If you're constantly in a traumatized state, okay, because you've learned to be afraid because trauma teaches you. Trauma teaches you things. Trauma teaches you to believe things. National trauma teaches you to believe things. And I'll tell you what, I started this thing recently where I began to share publicly, hey, are you willing to consider there's good news right now? Or are you stuck in your confirmation bias of fear and control? Because I was challenged to leave my confirmation bias of fear and control. And I have decided that I am going to leave that, and I'm going to be open to the idea that there's really good news, that we're not in a second wave, that the counts are going down, that people are healthier, we're developing communal immunity, and that our nation is actually meant for a great purpose. I am going to overthrow my confirmation bias of fear and control, and I'm going to be really open and attentive to voices that give me hope. And I posted, I said, if that bothers you, you might want to just unfriend me right now, because I'm going to keep posting things. I'm not going to debate you, but I'm going to post things, and I'm going to say things that give you a reason to have hope and to believe good news. And if you can't take it, say goodbye to me now. And that's where we have to hit, friends. We have to determine, and when you do that, because what happens when you determine that God, even if you feel how He feels terrifying to you, and your trauma it makes you scared of authority, and your trauma, it makes you're just so used to being disappointed. Look, we were taught to be disappointed. We were taught to lose. We were taught to be afraid. We were taught to go away quietly. We were taught to shut up. We were taught to be nice. And many of us were taught that authority figures are abusive. Many of us were taught we can't be okay. And I tell you right now, I went into the court of heaven and I was litigating against the enemy, making me feel unsafe. And it was an awesome time. You should do it. And then I came out with Isaiah 61, oil of joy for a spirit of heaviness. Garland of praise. Bam. What I'm saying is we learn these things. We learn to be avoidant, afraid, traumatized, and emotionally fragmented. And the first step of hope is to say, but wait a minute. If I learned all that, I can learn this. I can learn this. And that's where the determination comes from. Because when we are traumatized and uncomfortable, it sucks the energy out of us. And then we're afraid to act, and we don't do, and we don't focus. I'm going to say that right now, in the midst of your trauma, okay, In the midst of your trauma, you have something really important you're supposed to be doing, and your anxiety is distracting you from it. It might be prayer. It might be going around your neighborhood and introducing yourself to your neighbors, offering to pray for them. It might be, working on somebody's campaign. It might be launching a business. It might be, think of, creating something new. I'm going to tell you, if you're moving out of a vague sense of anxious trauma, you're going to be ineffective, which is why we have to get hold of ourselves. Limit the input to only those people who help you stay effective and you stay focused and you stay on your way. Because remember, this is the thing. The purpose of God, planted in this nation, planted in you, is the thing that trauma goes after. Trauma goes after purpose. Yep, I did it again. Trauma goes after purpose. So what does that tell you? I'll put the knife down. What does that tell you? I'll show you close up. What does that tell you about your purpose? What does that tell you about the power of this purpose right here? What does that tell you about the power of what was planted in the United States for the sake of the world? That was planted in your heart while you were in your mom's womb. That's how powerful it is. Somebody has gone after it. And we're going to redeem it. We're going to get it back. But the first thing I want you to start with is the reality of the value you carry, the value we carry, and the value of the few people that God has put in your life who get you, who understand you, who know you, who love you, who aren't leaving you, who are walking by you. God has He has put everything you need for your next steps toward freedom right where they need to be, so you can say yes and you can give Him your yes. That's where we are right now, in the middle of purpose with a gaping wound. But that's not how the story ends. I'm not going to leave it there. God's not going to leave it there. He's not going to leave it there in you. And anything, my friend, anything, any person, any pastor, any teacher, any post, any presidential news conference, anything that detracts you and sends you into that gray, muffled, anxious, disconnected, staticky state of numbing out and being afraid and keeping you from reaching in to what you know you need to do right now, and the people you need to love right now, and the love you need to receive right now, and the healing you need to receive. It's okay to be in this season right now, and maybe you're a pretty chewed up person. Like we got a lot of chewed up people in our, because I'll tell you what, when I posted that thing about, hey, are you willing to believe good news? It's funny how many bad news and good news. You might want to say goodbye to me now. There's something in you that's used to believing bad, used to being disappointed, used to losing, used to getting your butt handed to you politically or, communally or in your family or in your marriage or with your kids. And we're leaving that behind. We're leaving that behind. Because this is the season of our healing and our reintegration. And the more you get healed and well right now, the more you're going to project your healing and your hope onto your community and the people around you. And we're gonna leverage that up as even small tribes and groups and bring healing to our nation and restoration of our purpose. Okay? Oh my gosh, I just spilled my water all over the floor. All right. Okay, well, that's what I got for you today. I kind of have to let the painting be where it needs to be, and that shapes what I'll share. And it's interesting. Uh, I don't know that it's going to wind up looking like a world when we're done. I don't. All I know is there was something planted in us, and now we have a boo boo. But that ain't the end of the story. All right. So don't forget, please be intentional about connecting to the people that you really value, who are helping you right now. Be selective. When somebody says be careful who you listen to and they don't give you any advice, you know when you feel things revving up in your emotions and you start to feel anxious and your breath starts to increase, and all of a sudden you get that fuzzy, nummy thing, and you don't want to do the job that's in front of you. You kind of want to medicate. That's a good indication that that's a voice that needs to be turned down right now, right? Okay, I will see you tomorrow.